Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Each episode, we share the latest discoveries, observing techniques, and stories from the people who explore the moon, planets, comets, and beyond. Whether you're looking through a backyard telescope or leading professional research, we're all united under one sky. I'm Tim Robertson, your host. Thanks for being here. And if you usually listen to the podcast in your car or on your phone, did you know that you can now watch it? That's right. The Observer's Notebook is now available in video right here on the ALPO YouTube channel. And there's another interesting fact. Over 50% of the people watching or listening are not subscribed. So please take a quick second, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell so you don't miss another episode. It's free, and it really helps grow the channel. This show is made possible by support from you, our listeners. If you'd like to keep it going, check out our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/observersnotebook. For just $1 a month, you're supporting the show. For $5, you receive early access to the episodes. For $10, you receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you'll be listed as a producer of the podcast. And of course, you can learn more about the ALPO by going to www.alpo-astronomy.org, where you can join for as little as $22 a year. Now, let's get into episode 227 of the Observer's Notebook. Enjoy. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody back to this edition of the Observer's Notebook podcast. Now we have a very special return guest to the podcast, Pranvera Hyseni. Welcome back, Pranvera.
Hey Tim, thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, now Pranvera, she's founder of Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo. If you haven't heard about that, we'll talk about it. But it's the force. She is the force behind Kosovo's first National Observatory and Planetarium. She's also a PhD student at Earth and Planetary Sciences at UC Santa Cruz, and she's got a little rock in the sky named after her, asteroid 45687, which is kind of interesting because she's really into asteroids and meteors. And she's also the very first recipient of the Mike Reynolds Award from the ALPO, which honors people that do astronomical outreach. So, welcome again.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for the introduction. Very excited to be back here. There's been a lot that's happened since our last interview, so happy to share.
Okay, well, I want to go back to the beginning because you grew up in Kosovo during and after the war. And as a child in that environment, how did you fall in love with the night sky?
Yeah, it's still interesting to me that I started loving astronomy since a very young age. So now when I think about it, astronomy has been part of my life since I was basically conscious. Because like my very first thoughts that I can remember of myself were like from 3 years old, and that's when our country was still entangled in the war with Serbia, so we were splitting from Yugoslavia. And we had a total lunar eclipse, no, total solar eclipse, which was in August of 99. It was crossing all over Europe. The totality, however, was not visible from Kosovo, but it was like 97% coverage of the sun. It was very close. And you can imagine, even though during a solar eclipse it doesn't get fully dark until it's completely covered, it does get slightly yellowish if
Mm-hmm.
anybody has had the chance to experience it. So that's what was happening back then. And of course, my family and the news and like we heard about this event, but we didn't have like telescopes or anything to look at that. And my grandfather was still alive So he filled a bucket with water and we placed it indoors. So we were looking at the eclipse in the reflection of the water. And to me, as a 3-year old, my grandfather was explaining it's just the moon passing in front of the sun, and this is gonna not last for very long. Everything is gonna be back to normal because, of course, you tend to kind of get scared as a kid
Hmm.
and people don't understand these phenomenons. But he was very good at explaining it, and as someone who just for the first time realized that there is something beyond the blue sky, I was very fascinated by that. And being like growing up in the place where I was born and raised in a farm away from the city, I always had access to the night sky. I always had access to like views of Milky Way. I remember summers with my family just working all day in the farm, and then in the evenings the power would go out, so we would just sit outside in the lawn or in our porch in the summers, and like with the crickets and like the stars above, and we would see these satellites crossing through, moving, and it was just some of my fondest memories that I have with my family, and that also had such an effect on me falling in love with the sky and astronomy in general. So I always really wanted to have astronomy as my career in the future, but wanting that in Kosovo was definitely like a big step, like dreaming big, in other words, because Kosovo really is not developed to support any astronomy professions or jobs or careers.
Hmm.
So, as someone with such a huge passion for space, but born in a country that doesn't provide these resources, it was very challenging. Even my own parents at the beginning were quite skeptical that they thought it's just a phase, right? Like with every kid that
Right.
loves aliens and black holes and everything, and they end up going to high school and change their trajectory to completely something else. They thought it was also a phase with me, but later on, after the social media became more popular in Kosovo after 2010, and I started to learn English and connect with other astronomers globally, that's when they realized it's like, oh no, she's not joking. Like she really wants this. And ever since then, they were the most supportive parents and family, and they really tried to support me with whatever they could. And there's just so much my family could do because it's not like I come from a very rich
Hmm.
family. It's not like my dad would just buy me a telescope or buy me that or a computer or all, like we could barely afford like a desktop computer and pay for like internet once a
Right.
month because we didn't have much. And I am the sixth kid in the family, so we were a lot. And it was not easy to like grow up in a country that it's not very developed, and it's not a very rich country. And also, it was like a lot of hard work growing up there because we had a farm, not like a farm for like a big one, but enough for our family to provide for us.
Hmm.
And the entire family was involved in that. Like I spent summers out with the cows and in the fields and collecting hay and working on crops, and all the vegetables we would eat throughout the winter. We would have to work all summer to make it happen. And we had cows, chickens, all of that. It needed work to keep it up. And every single member of the family was involved,
Wow.
whether you are a kid or an adult. So I I grew up working like that with my family, and to the point that I went to college. My dad was a teacher for over 40 years. And despite that, my three oldest siblings, they never really finished high school because of the war situation. They had to drop out and they never went back. Me and my other sister, we grew up later after the war, so we went to college, and my dad did anything possible to make sure that we go to school and get an education because he values education. He
Right.
understands how important it is for us to have an education. So my sister went into medicine, and education. So she specialized in teaching biology and chemistry, basically, and she now is a teacher in a school in Kosovo.
Oh, wow.
Well, I picked geography because we didn't really have astronomy
Right.
or anything like that. And I figured, okay, if I'm gonna do at some point planetary sciences in the future, I might as well have a great background for our own planet here. So that's what I studied in my undergrad in Kosovo.
So what
The
was
hope.
what was it? Was it, if I go back to that total solar eclipse you saw, was it that moment in time that you said, I want to be an astronomer? Or is there some other event that happened
Honestly,
on your
I can't
voyage?
say it was exactly that moment. It was like a bunch of things that probably kind of affected me throughout my childhood. Another important fact is that my other sister, 2 years older than me, she loved astronomy. And we would spend these evenings with my family under the night sky, and we would be like, okay, let's see who counts all the stars in the sky, which is impossible, but her and I were like challenging each other. And just we would be out with the cows in the field, and she would teach me how to tell the time when it was time to get the cattle back home based on the shadow of the sun. And she would teach me all these different facts. And I was telling her, I was like, okay, this is what I want to become when I grow up. And I didn't quite understand that it's an astronomer, but I said, I want to become somebody who studies the planets. And she
Hmm.
said, yes, this is an astronomer, but that's what I want to be, but you're just copying me, okay? So she was joking with me like that. She taught me the planets from the sun,
Hmm.
based on the distance from the sun. And she would literally crack up laughing when I wouldn't get them right. I would be like, okay, Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, like not saying them in order. And that was so funny. I remember that very vividly. Unfortunately, I lost her in 2009.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And this whole journey that I've been in, I just feel like I'm not doing it just for myself, but also carrying it for both of us. And this is something she would have wanted to become.
Well, I think
And
she would be very proud of you where you are today.
thank you very much. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of things have affected me into
Mm.
this journey. Not just the eclipse itself, but just growing up with her, having those memories with her, growing up under the night sky, and just having that access to very dark skies was such a huge factor.
Yeah, what are some of the bigger obstacles you had getting to where you are today? Were there cultural, financial, educational? What are some hoops you had to jump through?
It wasn't necessarily cultural, despite that we're like 95% of our population in Kosovo is Muslim. It's a very open-minded country, just because like we had the war and then people just wanted what's best for our country. And it's still like that, very open-minded culture, very supportive. But unfortunately, there is just not a lot of resources. So for me to begin my journey into astronomy, I first off had to learn English. I didn't speak English until like 2013 or
Wow.
14. And then had to make all these connections with international astronomers because in Kosovo, getting access to tools, equipment, telescopes, it was just impossible. You can't just walk there in any store and find a telescope. Like it's non-existent. And it's still like that today, unfortunately. But I didn't have a telescope. I had a pair of binoculars, but not very good ones either. So through Facebook, I actually was able to meet other astronomers like you, like from all over Europe, Australia, America. And even though I was using Google Translate to talk to them, they saw that I was somebody very much interested in this field. And for those who took me seriously, one of them actually offered to donate me a telescope. It was a 3-inch reflector, a Newtonian, a tiny one. But that was my first telescope that I got. And that was like the first thing that I was like, okay, this is something interesting. Somebody that I don't even know donated me a telescope, which means that I could possibly like travel elsewhere or maybe go to a different country and continue my education if I improve my English and make more contacts and become part of a larger global community. And that's what I have been working for the last decade, basically. And that's where I am today. It all started with that small telescope that I
Hmm.
had, donated by somebody I didn't even know on
Yeah.
social media.
Well, anybody that knows you or sees the things you've done, they know that you don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, but
You see that
indeed,
as a challenge. It's, oh yeah.
yeah, so as for the biggest obstacles, it was just that, not having
Okay.
access to tools and having to basically learn a whole new language just to connect to another community of scientists and astronomers.
So then you got this wild idea to start Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo.
Yeah, because once social media again became popular and I got this first telescope, I made more contacts with other astronomers. And this is how I came across Stephen Ramsden, based in
Hmm.
Atlanta, with the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. And Stephen decided to support me. So he sent me more telescopes, but this time he was sending me H alpha solar telescopes and mounts and planetary cameras and computers and things I never even imagined I could have in my life. Like
And
internet
how old were
before
you at that time?
I was 19. Yeah, this was, yeah, I was 19 only. I just had come off of high school basically and started my first like freshman year in college. And I went from having this tiny telescope to having like almost 10 different telescopes within 1 year period. And I was like, okay, this is growing very fast. I got all these telescopes. I need to do something with it. And despite that, by myself, I was going to several schools. I was like, maybe it's a better idea to make a larger group, not just go pran like that. So that's when I founded Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo in 2015. This was like a year or so later after I got all these equipment. And it was probably one of the best decisions of my life that I've ever made because I never thought Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo would grow so large into a nonprofit organization that will be recognized globally like that. And also, it's the fact behind the observatory and planetarium in Kosovo today.
Hmm.
Because of this nonprofit, we were able to achieve so much and to make so much difference in one country. And if somebody would have told me back then that this is where AOK is going to grow into, I would have never really believed anybody. But I'm very happy
Yeah.
that I did that. And now we have a whole facility in Kosovo and we have a whole team there that is working tirelessly and engaging with the public and trying to help the new generation of scientists to get started, to get inspired, to learn about science and astronomy in general, while I am here away trying to continue my education into something further. And as sad as it is that I had to leave Kosovo behind and I had to come here, I am at the same time always looking back and seeing how else can I help Kosovo and my team back there. And every time I go to Kosovo, I try to bring something new, either in way of donations or equipment or new designs for the facility or all of that. Like I have all these ideas, but there is also just so much I can do from California
Yeah.
because I am very busy here, as you can
Yeah.
tell.
You are. So take me back those first few outreach events that you did in Kosovo. What were they like? Were they at schools or set up a telescope at a park? What was it like?
Before I actually founded AOK, with my 3-inch telescope, I did a few events. The first one actually was I took my telescope in a science fair. My high school was doing a science fair, and I was like, okay, I did the astronomy session and I brought a telescope. And I remember our booth getting the biggest amount of visitors because we were not even looking through the telescope, we were looking at the telescope because everybody was fascinated with this tool with mirrors. It was so sophisticated for us. And I have a lot of pictures from that. It's really funny. And then I started to go to some other schools just to like look at the sun. I had a small filter with those aluminum foil
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
filters. And we would just look at sunspots. The
Hmm.
sun appeared completely white with some sunspots. It was interesting to look at that. And then after Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo, like the first event as A-OK, but by then I was still just by myself because I had just started the nonprofit, so I still didn't have any members. But my family helped me out through like what became the largest AOK event since then. It was a solar eclipse in 2015, a partial solar
Okay.
eclipse in Kosovo. Like half of the sun was covered. And by then I had all these H alpha telescopes and all the cool, neat stuff. And I put it in the main square of the capital city. Um, which like going to New York Times Square and putting the telescope. That's like the equivalent of like the
Okay.
main square in our capital. And we had like over 1,000 visitors that day. And it was so crazy that basically my family and people had to hold hands around the telescopes like this so that people wouldn't push through and get over the telescopes
Oh
because
my.
it was so crowded. Like when you go to a concert and
Hmm.
everybody's like pushing at you, that's how crowded it was because everyone wanted to take a look in the telescopes through an H alpha. Everybody wanted a pair of free solar glasses. This had gone over so like the news media all week long before. So a lot of people were informed that this event was gonna take place. So that ended up being like the main breakthrough of AOK because that event, it's where I met a lot of other people that were
Okay.
like, oh my God, this was so cool. I want to become part of this. I want to help and do something else. And yeah, it grew up pretty quick into like 300 members within the first year. And I met some of the greatest people that I still work with. And we're still part, like the same group of people basically that has carried this for for a decade. These are like my very good friends, my brothers and sisters. Like we know each other's families now. We go back and forth. We talk every day. We chat every day. We laugh and we make plans. And it turned into this great long-term friendship. And I really love that. I really
Good.
love that.
I bet your life changed overnight in that one event.
It did. It did
Wow.
really. It not only gave me like all these new people that I got to work with, but also that event gained so much international recognition because everybody was like, "Oh my God, like you guys, like you could see the pictures of like heads of people like in a concert." So everybody was very, very, very surprised about it. So that's what also pushed me into like the international stage where
Hmm.
then I started getting recognized internationally by astronomy groups and I was getting invitations to travel internationally to all countries to literally give talks about this event, about Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo, about participating in so many different things, and I never thought that would lead into this. So that's where I actually started traveling internationally. That's what led my first trip here in the States, and it changed my life.
Fantastic. So you've had outreach to tens of thousands of people over the years. What are the programs? Is it just the solar programs, or what programs resonate most with the students and teachers that you address?
Yeah, doing solar astronomy was just easier with schools because
Hmm.
schools take place during the day and it's just easy to offer that program to the schools. And we also had different types of solar telescopes in all different wavelengths like H alpha, calcium K, and visible. And it was something that was much easier to do with the schools. But we did a lot of nighttime events with just free like sidewalk outreach events in the
Okay.
cities, or we would also organize astro camps. We would basically invite a group of people to go up in the mountains under dark skies and try to look at objects, or even attempt to do astrophotography, which we never really succeeded because you have to have the right tools, right? But we tried. We were using planetary cameras to try to do deep sky imaging, and it was great. It was really nice. We've done a lot of collaborations with the university. We've given talks. We've gone like in conferences around Kosovo and just tried to collaborate and integrate astronomy in any way possible we could, everywhere we could. And we've also had a great relation with the media in Kosovo.
Oh, good.
Media has supported us very much. So if something was happening in the sky, like an eclipse or some sort of phenomenon, media would directly come to us and be like,
Fantastic.
hey, would you come in and talk about this? Or are you gonna do an event about this? And it was great. Like we had the Mercury transit in 2016.
Hmm.
Like that's like one thing that we did with the public, and we had another great turnout of people. And we tried literally everything we could to just bring more people into astronomy, just engage with more of the community.
So, in your view, what makes outreach effective that someone that goes to one of your outreach programs actually gets motivated and joins your organization or goes on to become an astronomer? What makes that effective to a person?
Well, first off, from a lot of people ask me this, but the way like how I see outreach, it's not you put your telescope and expect people to come to you. The first rule is you go to the people. So I try to set up my telescope where people are, whether they are in a school or in a public square
Okay.
or in a restaurant where it's frequented by a lot of people. That's how you do it. You reach to people. And second off is just talking to people, like talking about like the most interesting things about astronomy, whether it's a kid or an adult. You show them something and then you tell, like they look at the solar prominence and you explain it to them that what you're looking at, that little flare, like it's basically 3 times the size of the Earth. Can you just imagine that? And how these things are formed, how we literally can see the lights that you have in your background because of these explosions in the sun, and how everything is connected. And you just share very interesting facts, and they always have questions. The public always is curious about these things. And what also motivates them is just seeing how enthusiastic you are about this. Sometimes people get inspired by that, just seeing your enthusiasm, talking about it. And then the second off is like you share with someone a very interesting fact. Like they are just stunned. They will
Hmm.
think about it for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, and might even be so interested that they will go start digging and looking more into it, and then, deciding to just change their trajectory of their life. And I've seen a lot of people in my life, a lot of astronomers who say, like, okay, they got their first experience in a planetarium or their first look in the telescope and they got so inspired. That's exactly what we were trying to reach out to people, to just change somebody's life. And you never know how you do that or when you
Right.
do that. It's spontaneous, but the more of that we do, the higher the chances are that we'll get more students, especially interested in astronomy. And we were very lucky because right now we have quite a few of them that actually decided to go and study physics and study astronomy and engineering. Like we have a student currently who's still, I believe, in college doing physics. She's interested in building a CubeSat. And when we
Nice.
had the grand opening of the observatory, we had some aerospace engineers there visiting in Kosovo. And I got to introduce her to them, and they were all like having this conversation and thinking about how to make the first Ghost of Us CubeSat. And I
Oh
was like
my.
so happy to see that she's still in college and she's thinking about doing aerospace engineering. And then my very best friend, Buyar, who's currently actually pursuing a PhD here in the United States, he decided to go into physics. And I've known them since they were in middle school, basically. Like they were like in high school or so when we got to meet through these outreach events, and then we started working together and coming to every single outreach event and meetings that we had, and we became friends, and we kind of like grew up together, and seeing them study these things now, it just makes me happy. It really does.
What I don't know if you consider yourself one of these, but what role do role models play?
I don't know.
No, I mean, especially I can imagine for the young girls and women in Kosovo, the STEM. I'm sure you've brought that into the mix. I mean, how important do you think you are to them?
I don't know. I honestly don't think about that much, but I still consider myself as the average young friend who loves astronomy and loves sharing it with other. I never get out of that. I never see myself as somebody who's become somebody and now I'm looking from above, right?
Hmm.
I don't have that point of view on myself. I'm still a student, right? So I can't even think, even here, that I am from that point of view. But I love that a lot of people want to connect in Kosovo when I go there. Now I
Hmm.
try to go to Kosovo once or twice a year, but every time I go there and I announce that I'm gonna be at the observatory, I'm gonna be here or there, like people will want to meet, people will want to connect, to discuss, to talk, to even like go to their school and give a talk or university. My university professors in Kosovo are still contacting me. They still be like, "Hey, are you gonna be in Kosovo? We would love to have you back and give a talk to the new generation of students now." And it's always really
You know what
good.
they call that? They call that a role model.
Thank you. But it feels great to just have that opportunity to go back and connect and having these people who have supported me throughout my journey and go back and talk to them again. And I know they're very proud to where I am now and to
Hmm.
see me succeed. But that doesn't mean that I should not go back and
No.
connect with them and visit them because it makes me very happy to do that and bring something new, what I've learned, my experiences, and share it with others. And hopefully, it will help somebody else to follow the same steps.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of feedback on when you come on the podcast. People want to get to know you. I mean, you recently came out to Ventura and went to Mount Wilson with our local astronomy club, and they were all excited. They
Oh,
were like,
yeah, it's
"Yes,"
yours.
they were like, "Oh, the rock star is coming to town." I said, "Pran, the rock star? Oh, okay." But yeah, I mean,
I I am very a casual person, especially in social
mhm.
media. I consider myself very goofy. I share my life very openly with
Yep,
people.
you do.
I all my experiences. I just want to share with who I am, literally a simple, kind person who I want to connect with more people. I want to know more people. I want to travel the world. I want to learn new experiences. I want to learn from people. And every time I meet somebody new, it's always fascinating because you always learn from them. So I am happy with whoever wants to ever just talk to me or discuss with me. Just reach out to me through social media. It's the easiest way to get to me,
And
really.
it is. I'll say that. I mean, and now, I mean, there's one company that's been really good to you and really good to astronomy, the your observatory in Kosovo, and that's Celestron. You are now a brand ambassador for Celestron. So tell me about that. How did that all happen?
Yeah, honestly, I owe so much to Celestron for the fact that not just for the observatory, but Celestron has been a driving force behind AOK for a long time because those equipment we were getting through Stephen Ramsden and the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. Keep in mind, Charlie Bates was directly sponsored by Celestron and Skywatcher USA. And this, Stephen was just literally like distributing those donations to other teams across the world. One of them, which was me and AOK. So I have received Celestron equipment since 2015. I still have the AVX mount in Kosovo that it's currently rusted because that's how much we used it for a decade
Oh my.
everywhere. And I've got like so many equipment. And then Celestron had a youth panel talk at NEAF in New York in 2018. They invited some young, enthusiastic folks to speak about their experience and journey in astronomy. And one of them, they picked me. They were like, "Okay, we'll sponsor you to come to United States and give a talk at NEAF." And it was great. This was my first time being in a green room and speaking at such a huge audience. I was very excited, and that was Celestron. They just wanted to support younger people because they believe that the younger generation, giving that kind of support, it's gonna just push us even further. It's
Right.
motivating above all. And when you get recognized like that as a young person, it really feels good, like somebody's believing in you. And I was one of those lucky people that I just started this whole connection with Celestron through Stephen Ramsden. And then in 2018, I came here and I met the entire Celestron team, including the CEO of Celestron, Corey Lee. And it was in 2018 when at NEAV, during my talk, I spoke about this idea that we want to build the first observatory in Kosovo and change this for once and for all. And I presented my slides and everything. And after I finished my talk, I went back to the booths and I was talking to the CEO of Celestron, and he was like, okay, listen, if you guys manage to build that, we will donate you guys a C14, a 14-inch telescope, and we will also come and install it. And I was like, oh shit. It was just very surprising. We didn't even build it yet. It was still just an idea. So I went back to Kosovo. I was still in Kosovo back then, and I shared this with my team. I said, like, we secured the telescope. We have to get this observatory going. And it took a lot of effort. We had to
Hmm.
approach the government, and there was a lot of bureaucracy, and
I
we
remember
even
that.
it was like so halted to the point that I protested in front of the government with signs and everything for the observatory, which is crazy. I've never protested in my life ever before. Um, but it came through in 2022. We actually started the construction, and the construction ended pretty quick. Within a year, everything was completed, everything was ready. We built and manufactured the dome in Kosovo, which is the most critical part. A lot
And
of people
I guess the
asked us.
company that made that had never built an observatory before either.
Never, ever. And I was very scared. I was like, this is not gonna work, but for some miracle, it's working. And a lot of people asked why we didn't go with a roll-off roof. Of
Hmm.
course, it might have been easier, but we really wanted the classic dome because it's the National Observatory. We wanted it to be symbolic and iconic for the first. And it worked out. So in last year,
Hmm.
2024, it was time to basically go open to the public because we had completed the entire center, so we just needed to install the equipment. So last June, Celestron crew actually flew all the way to Kosovo, Robert Reeves, which might be part of the ELPO because
Yep.
the
Yes, he
lunar
is.
observer, yeah. Kevin Kawai and Ben Hawk, all three of them came all the way to Kosovo and they shipped a whole truck of equipment to UK and then the truck drove all the way to Kosovo. Basically a whole truck with boxes of from Celestron and Skywatcher USA of mounts and telescopes, not just the main dome telescope, but they sent a second 14-inch telescope,
Oh my.
gigantic mounts from Skywatcher USA, different kind of telescopes, a whole set of eyepieces and star sense autoguider, and literally all the accessories you can think of. And I still have a picture where I am just standing in front of the boxes, like the whole box is behind me, stacked.
I've seen that picture.
It's crazy because all of that was probably like worth over $100,000 and it was donated. We didn't pay a dime for that. And not only that, Celestron decided to send a whole crew to Kosovo, which paid for that also, just to come and install the telescopes and train our staff how to properly use it. And to me, it's crazy. Like, who would do that? It just how much effort Celestron puts into education and
Hmm.
supporting outreach worldwide. To me, it's just mind blowing. And I was very, very thankful to them that they
Yeah.
kept their word from 2018. They promised the telescope and they delivered. And they did such a fantastic job. And I was very happy they were there during the grand opening. And a lot of other astronomers flew in from different countries of the world, and we had probably like 15 to 20 international
Right.
astronomers there to celebrate with us, including my own PhD advisors from my university came to Kosovo for that.
I remember watching that live on I think you had it simulcast like on Facebook or something like that. That was pretty wild.
It was such a great moment. I am so happy it finally happened and we were able to open last year.
Hmm.
It's sad that I haven't been able to return since then because I have been very busy here with school and I'm in like kind of almost approaching the end of my PhD program, so I'm trying to be working really hard to um, make everything happen and like defend my thesis hopefully next year sometime. But it's just been very hectic. I'm hoping, really hoping I can go this March, this upcoming March to Kosovo. That will be my first return since the observatory, because since we opened, I only were like for like a week and I had to come back to school, which is sad. But I really want to go back and just probably get some astrophotography started or do something that we haven't tried yet from there.
Yeah, the observatory in Kosovo always puts what they're doing on their Facebook page. I was looking at a post today from them. They had a whole school in there today doing programs and stuff. So they are very active.
Yes, we get schools basically every single day. So schools can, make an appointment and then they bring 100 to 150 kids a day. We have the staff there who shows them around. We look at the sun. We have planetarium shows. And during the night, we use the C14 telescopes to look at different like objects. The area currently where the observatory is a Bortle 5, unfortunately.
Mm.
Right now in Kosovo, there is no place in the country where you can find anything under Bortle 4.
Oh.
Like everything is being so brutally crazy with the lights. And I have expressed my concern with the government, but nobody listens to me, so I can't
Oh,
do anything.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Now,
Nobody cares, and it's just sad because I'm afraid it's just gonna get worse.
uh,
It's just gonna get worse, and there is nothing I can do about it. But I'm just sad that the young kids today in Kosovo might be missing into ever seeing the Milky Way
yeah,
until like they get to travel somewhere else. But yeah, for Celestron, we keep a very close collaboration. They have been really, really supportive, and they still are. Now that I'm here in the Bay Area, I am going to school, but at the same time, I'm trying my attempt at continuing my outreach work, even here in the Bay Area, through my new program, Astronomy with Pran.
that was
And Celestron, again, just keeps surprising me. They keep donating more equipment to every single kid. Every time I go to a school, if it's 100 kids that I'm doing the event with, they will send 100 telescopes to every single kid. And I've done like what, 6 events or so far, and they have supplied every single school with telescopes. And it's mind blowing the fact that they are just so supportive towards education. I'm just very happy to be working with them. And I I love their products and I don't promote their products just because I owe it to them. They're genuinely great products. There are products that I have paid with my own money just because I like them and they're good and they do a great job. And yes, I'm happy to work with them. And same with Skywatcher USA. They have been just really, really great at supporting my outreach events.
yeah. I remember seeing your first post when you did your first astronomy with Pran at the elementary school. I think it was elementary school,
Yeah.
and you were showing them all the sun, and then you announced, "Well, everyone here is getting a free telescope." And I can just imagine the noise and
No,
that occurred in that classroom when you said that. And what kind of feedback have you got? Have you got feedback since then from the school or the kids?
not from the kids. I don't have direct contact with the kids,
Right.
but the schools have been very, very, very thankful and grateful for the donations. We generally don't announce it to the kids. They're getting a free
Mhm.
telescope until the event date. I just coordinate with Celestron in the school so they receive the shipment. The teachers all know about it, but we just want to make sure that we announce the kids when I'm there just to get their reactions. And it's really great. I try to not have the kids open their telescopes there. We usually just open one. I open one just to show them how to mount it, how to use it, because this is a Newtonian tiny telescope, which is made for kids. And it's great because not only you can actually look through it, and I tested it. I have one in my coffee table, and you can actually get very good views of Saturn and the moon. That's the two objects I have observed through that. And it has this thing where you can open from the back and you can see the whole tube inside. You can see the mirrors. So
Oh,
the point of that is to actually see how a Newtonian telescope works, how the light is coming in, reflected to the eyepiece. Because every time we think about telescopes, we think of the classic, you
refractor.
look at the end of the tube in every cartoon or everything you see. But a Newtonian, not every kid is like knows about Newtonians and
Right.
how telescopes with mirrors works. In fact, I must admit, when I first received that telescope, the Newtonian one, I had to wait 1 month until we got internet back again because we didn't have internet every time at home to talk to the person who donated it to me to show me how to use it because I was very confused. I didn't even know Newtonian telescopes existed until I received it. I was like, how does this even work? Like looking through the eyepiece here and not through the end. It was very confusing. And I can understand how those kids could have been confused the same way.
Oh, I
So
don't
I
know how many
always,
times. I don't know how many times I've seen an ad or something where the Newtonian is upside down. You
yes,
know, the eyepiece is at the bottom, and it's just like
yes.
and
So yes, I
it's
was
on a TV
confused.
show or something like that, and they always have it configured
It's
wrong.
so funny. It's all the time. And I was confused exactly just the same way. So I try to show the kids how to mount it, how to look through it, but
Hmm.
I don't want them to open it at school. We want
Right.
to make sure when they open it, the parents are there and they're being cautious with it and they don't look at the sun and all of this. But I'm just very happy that Celestron keeps supporting like the new generation of scientists and backing up education. I understand I was under the impression that in the United States schools have everything, but it's actually not like that. When I
No.
came
No.
here, I
No.
can understand that education is not supported very much. Teachers don't have a lot of resources, so it's great to have a corporation back up education like that.
I bet you're getting a lot of requests to come to more and more schools now.
My God, yes, because I announced this on social media in some of the local groups here in the Bay Area, and I
Mhm.
received hundreds of requests from school. But there's also just so much I can do because I have a very busy academic schedules. I'm taking classes, I'm teaching
Hmm.
classes, all of that. So I had to try to fit these school events within my open days. So I try to do maybe one school a week. I actually had one scheduled for today, but we had to postpone it for next Wednesday due to weather.
Yeah.
And weather hasn't been very kind to me this last few weeks. But yeah, I only have booked so far as December because I don't know the academic schedule for the quarter until the beginning of each quarter. So for next quarter, I have to wait until the beginning of January to schedule more schools throughout March. But
Okay.
it's great. I'm happy that I now can provide the same type of outreach events here in the States because I have accumulated enough equipment and tools
Oh yeah.
to do that. And it's always such a joy to go to these schools and talk to children. It's really, really nice to see their enthusiasm and how interested they are in astronomy. They're still at that age where they have not been shaped by the world and they still don't understand that the world can be really cruel. And
Hmm.
it's great to just be there and hopefully they will keep that interest going and maybe pursue STEM fields.
Yeah. So how has your PhD work at UC Santa Cruz added to your outreach education?
Sorry, would you repeat that?
Your PhD work that you're doing in
Yeah.
planetary science, how has that added to your outreach?
Yeah, so the outreach events that I do are just pure out of my free time and passion. So they're really not part to do with my PhD, but how my PhD has affected the outreach, it definitely has because when I was doing outreach in Kosovo, I had knowledge about astronomy, but I really didn't know the depth lengths of like physics and chemistry and all of that. And now I also can go here to schools and bring meteorite samples and show them the samples and challenge them, bring some earth rocks and see like, hey, can we tell which one is a meteorite, which one is an earth rock? I specialize in these things and it's great to be able to show this to kids to look for certain textures and see if they can actually notice something that is different in here that it's not in an earth rock and how they can tell and identify it's a meteorite. So before, I really wasn't sure about chondrules or CAIs or about like what a meteor really looked like or how to identify it. But now I have new knowledge on everything. And it's just easier to go out there and explain things. Or like when we look at the sun, it's just easier to explain the electromagnetic spectrum and like the H alpha to kids. And again, like everybody says, when you understand something really good, it's much easier to explain it to
True.
someone else. So I find it easier to explain it to kids now because I have a deeper knowledge of these
Okay.
in much more detail. So yes, the PhD program has definitely helped me gain more knowledge on everything and especially on minor planets where I specialize on asteroids and kids love like destructions, events, impacts, explosions, everything about it. So it's nice to be able to share it with them and just have the expertise to actually talk to them about certain questions they might have. But yeah, meteorites are always the
That's
most favorite things that they can do in these outreach events because when you tell them that they're holding a space rock, something that came from space, it just makes them like, wow. And I always do that, like, who wants to hold a space rock? And they all go crazy. It's really funny.
that's wild. Now, in your research, have you been able to get your hands on a sample from Osiris Rex?
I have not.
Well, why
And
not? No one tells Pran no.
I haven't requested any. My advisor has, however. I know she has requested some Bennu samples, and to my knowledge, I think she has been approved.
Oh,
So I still have to do one third project because my thesis consists of three main projects, two of which have to be published, and the third one doesn't necessarily have to be quite published, but close. And that's when they basically you earn the degree and they give you
hmm,
the you can defend your thesis. So currently I just submitted my first one and I announced it on my social media. Like actually from Alaska, I submitted my first paper and I'm close to submitting the second one, probably through December. I'll try half of December to submit it. And then for my third one, we're thinking more about maybe astrobiology,
okay.
because I work a lot with organics in asteroids. But at this point, we're thinking maybe just adding a little bit of a pinch of astrobiology and having that connection. And that's when my advisor mentioned the Bennu samples that she has been approved for some. So I was like, wait a second, maybe I
I've been wondering about that because I know planetary astronomers that have gotten their hands on them, and I'm like, what
yeah.
if Pran's gone there yet? It's just like,
So we have been discussing, oh, I might very well be part of that
good.
event that she's planning on doing with these samples, but we haven't like made like complete decision. You will definitely hear about it if I end up working with Bennu samples because
Yeah,
I
they
was
really haven't released much of what they've discovered so far yet on that either, which is
Mm.
interesting.
actually there was a lot of studies and publications at LPSC, Lunar and Planetary
Oh, okay.
Sciences Conference this year. And then I'm sure there are gonna be more this next year. I go to LPSC every year because I present my research every time. It's really nice to be there. And there is a lot of studies on Bennu samples, a
Okay.
lot of it, especially from the Southwest Research Institute scientists. But of course, a lot of this is just academic data. It's different when you try to bring that to the public, right?
That's
Not
true.
everything gets down to the public. So that's where I really want to get in, even after I finish my PhD program. Hopefully, I will get to the situation where I can contribute into research and science, but at the same time, I kind of want to bridge that gap. Like whatever we find here, I want the public to understand it to a level they can actually absorb it. And I'm still working on ways to try to explain things
Hmm.
and then maybe even like do some videos about things, but
Oh,
I
good.
don't always, yeah. So,
Very good.
but yeah, hopefully I will get to work with some Bennu samples. That would be very special,
All
very
right.
special.
I have a couple little questions I want to ask you just off the cuff. The
Hmm.
first object you love to show kids at a star party.
At a star party, oh God, depends on the season. But for the public, I actually prefer the planets
I
because if you
like
show
that.
somebody a deep sky image, let's assume Andromeda or whatever galaxy or nebula, they won't be very impressed.
Yeah.
And I don't say that like very easily, but indeed they don't get very impressed because they think they're gonna see something that Hubble Space Telescope sees in an image with colors and beautiful and all that. You don't, because
Hmm.
they don't understand that your eye cannot necessarily see that. That's like a photo exposed over an amount of time and stacked and come out beautifully processed. But if it's planets, it's a lot easier. Saturn is my favorite to show to the public because everybody was like, wow, like it has a ring. And some people don't realize you can actually see the ring of Saturn.
Not right
So,
now, but
yes, right now it's not that good. But that's actually one of the things that I like to show because I really like it. The second one is the moon. The moon, when it's like half quarter,
hmm.
it's really interesting to see the moon for the
Yep.
first time. I myself, when I saw the moon for the first time, it was very,
Oh.
very impressed. So the moon and Saturn, I really hope to show to people when I can, when they're up in the sky. And same with Jupiter. Jupiter can be very interesting.
Hmm.
You can see very clear all the atmosphere, the festoons and the red spot and all that.
And the moons of
Um,
Sat of Jupiter as well.
yeah, and also the sun in H
Yeah.
alpha. The sun is always changing. Sometimes it's not very good, but sometimes can be mind blowing. Like all of these things happening at the same time. To me, it's crazy that we can see the sun like that through a telescope, amateur telescope. So these are my favorite objects to show people. I now with like Origin and like the new smart telescopes, you can basically take it out and let everybody hook through their phones and take a really nice deep sky image. That's a different story. But
Yeah.
again, showing somebody a deep sky object, unless you're in a very dark sky that you might use a filter like an O3 filter or something, you don't impress people very much, unfortunately.
Right.
And yeah, so right now, like the fact that I'm attempting astrophotography a little bit, sometimes I show people like my pictures, like, hey, I took this from my telescope, and they're like, wow, this is great. But it's hard to show the same thing through the eyepiece
Exactly.
because you're not gonna see the same thing.
Yeah, and the smart telescopes are kind of bridging that gap, like you said, the
Yeah,
origin and things
yeah.
like that. What's the hardest question a kid has ever asked you?
Oh my gosh. Um, I don't know. I would have to think really hard. Kids ask a lot of questions about black holes. And I know a little bit about black holes, but I also don't do a lot of black holes stuff. Like
Okay,
I
right.
do
That's not your,
planetary,
yeah.
so I wouldn't say I know everything about black holes. Sometimes they will ask questions that actually really fascinate me. Um, yeah, I can think from top of my head of
Okay.
any questions, but they definitely ask very interesting questions. Sometimes I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Sometimes about meteorites, sometimes about just planets and atmospheres and things that, wow, it's nice to see how much imagination they have to actually have critical thinking to think that far. It's really nice.
Nice. So what's one astronomy myth you wish would go away?
Uh, mm, a myth. Like, for instance, are we talking about like flat Earths and stuff like that? Is it like a myth or
Yeah.
oh God,
Or that guy in Harvard that you went off on
oh God, hell yeah, I am mad about that.
you did a great job. Those of you
Yeah,
that haven't seen it, there's a guy in Harvard. It's the reason I guess we have tenure. I don't know, you can't get fired. But he went off on Comet I3, and that it's a UFO flying through the solar system. And Pran did a very good video on Facebook. Um,
yeah,
re
it's also on YouTube. So if you want
Yes,
to
it is.
watch it, you can
Yes.
totally go and just type in Three Eye Atlas and my name, it will pop up. But the thing is, uh, probably it brings him money and it brings
Oh,
university money. So
he's
of
writing a
course
book.
Harvard would. I didn't, but I would say because I've seen a lot of like he gets funding to go in the bottom of the ocean to look for pieces of an alien spacecraft that basically have crashed somewhere in New Guinea. Like, give me a break. Like, we are trying so hard here to get funds for actual science. I understand to some extent we as scientists have to question things, okay? We
Right.
don't let things go easily. But at the same time, you have to have some common sense for God's sake, right?
Yep.
There is just so much you can push it, and then you have to be stopped. Like, let's not pass a line to being a lunatic. And yeah, I think he's crossed that line, unfortunately.
Yep.
And we can't do anything about it. But for the myth, which I wish it went away, is the fact, not just that, but the fact that every time there is something in astronomy that we don't understand, okay, we try to make sense of it by resonating it with something extraterrestrial, something that we don't understand. Same with here on Earth. We don't understand how pyramids have been built or whatever we don't understand. It's aliens. Immediately. That's the only answer. And it's just crazy. It's like we don't sit and think that, hey, the universe is so bizarre, okay? It's really interesting. It's odd. It's hard to understand everything. It's hard to make sense of everything. But that doesn't mean we necessarily have to connected or associated with alien life, that everything around we see is because of aliens, because it just makes us stupid, okay? And it makes us naive. And a lot of people, like, even like just recently, I posted a video and I didn't explain it. I was very enthusiastic and I was like, oh my God, look, the star, look at the star. And the star is blinking because the asteroid is passing in
Hmm.
front and it's like 20 seconds or something. And I posted it on TikTok and on Instagram, and it got like almost 100,000 views. And then I see the comments and questions from people. And despite that, I explained that it's an asteroid. Some people don't read the description, so they ask. They're like, oh my God, like, is this like an alien? Maybe some spacecraft is passing in front. Like, the immediate first thought, it's not some asteroid or something is passing in front. It's like it's aliens. Like that's the thing. I wish more people would just think more reasonably and not
I hear
immediately
you.
go to such far lengths and be like, okay, it's somebody else doing this. I mean, I understand the universe again is very bizarre, but we have to just take it easy and think a little bit more before we do any like extraordinary crazy answer.
Yeah, I'm sorry I got you riled up a little
No, I just
bit.
I have to deal with this all the time on social media, but it's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah, so do I. I mean, I get more questions about that comet lately, and why don't you do a podcast on it? I did. It's called Comets. You know? All right. And one more. What is your go-to outreach demo that never fails? The one that make people go, wow. Yeah,
Um,
demo.
you mean demonstration?
Yeah.
Okay. That's that's the one with the meteorites. It's
Really?
definitely, yeah. Like even if it's cloudy, even if we don't get outside to look through the telescope, if I'm doing an outreach, even if I'm in the street, I'll just pull it out of my pocket and be like, hey, look, it's a Martian meteorite. It's a rock from the moon or something, and they get to hold it and they get to look at it and they get to take
Yeah.
pictures of it, and like we have a whole like that extends into like a half-hour discussion with people. And sometimes I do events around here with resorts, like they will invite us to go and have like this nice dinner with like people who come to dine in and then get to share an experience of some sort. And sometimes it's cloudy in Santa Cruz with a marine layer, but every time I bring meteorites, it's really interesting how
Hmm.
much people get impressed with it. And because I work with meteorites, I find them very random, right? I have a bunch lying around here. So it's like a rock, right?
It's a
But you show somebody that it's a rock that has been
it's a
floating in
piece of
space for
space.
yeah, for billions of years in space and ended up in your hand. And people really, really take that very close to their heart. It's a very special moment for them. And I have experienced this along like many times. So for people that are experiencing that for the first time, holding something from space. And it's very, very interesting to get their attention, to get something going, like to get the discussion started. So I really like every time I do an event to bring something hands-on, to
Yeah.
actually people to touch and then like look at it. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, when I was in Alaska, I really wanted to do an event with the school, but it was Thanksgiving,
Uh,
and of course I couldn't get. But I wanted to do the old Eratosthenes example where they measure the shadow with a stick from different latitudes, and you measure like the circumference of the Earth, and I wanted to do that maybe with a school. I would be in a different location and they would be here in San Jose and do it at the same time.
oh,
But
wow.
yeah, I've never tried it before, but I just thought it would be something fun to get like a group of kids and do something.
Yeah,
But
when I do school programs and it's solar observing usually, you want to emphasize that you don't want to put your eye to the eyepiece. So what I would do is I'd blow up a balloon, then I'd take the filter off and just run the
oh,
balloon in front of the eyepiece, and it immediately pops. I said, now that could be your eyeball.
oh yeah, yeah.
That
But
that that right there is just like, oh, okay, I understand how serious it is now. I don't want to do that.
yeah, that's actually a very interesting one. Can't do that because right now I'm not doing any visible, so I'm only
Okay,
doing H alpha. So whether
okay,
you have an eyepiece or not, you really can't risk your eye. But I've seen a lot of kids when it's cloudy, right? Clouds are passing, we can't look at the sun, but they insist, I really want to look in the telescope. It's like, sure, you're more than welcome, but it's just black, right?
yeah,
I don't know what they expect to see, but sometimes it's sad when the clouds intervene. But yeah,
yeah.
that's a really nice one. I like that.
No, good, good. Well, you're free to use it. Well, Pran, this has been awesome. I've been looking forward to have you on again. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers before we move on?
No, I just would like to really thank you for having me back. It's been such a great time to chat.
Hmm.
I've been a little bit passive in the last few days because the last week of school has been very hectic here, trying to get things sorted out. But yeah, thank you so much. And for everybody who's watching, thank you for taking your time to listen to us. And hopefully, I'll bring more cool stories next time.
All right, we'll talk to you then. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. A special thank you to our guest Pranvera Hyseni for joining us today and sharing their thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And if you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share the podcast. It really helps reach more listeners. New episodes of the Observer's Notebook are released every few weeks. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and the ALPO YouTube channel. And if you'd like to help support the podcast, you can do so through Patreon for as little as a few dollars a month. Up to $35 a month, you will receive exclusive benefits, including one-year membership to the Alpo and producer credits on the show. You'll find the links for the Patreon and ALPO website on the show notes. And a special thank you, as always, to our producers, Steve Siedentop and Michael Moyer, for their generous support of the Observer's Notebook podcast. And if you'd like to reach me directly, my email is tim.robertson@alpo-astronomy.org. Thanks for joining us today. You can join the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers today. It's just this easy. You can become a valuable member of this International Lunar and Planetary Astronomy Organization, founded in 1947 by Walter H. Haas. It's based upon the structure of the British Astronomical Association. You can join various lunar and planetary observing sections, contribute to our massive archive of observations. You'll have access to our extensive lunar and planetary gallery of over 20,000 photos and observations of the sun, the moon, comets, meteors, and the planets. You'll receive our quarterly publication, the Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. You have the ability to join the ALPO training program, which will teach you the finer points of making planetary observations. You can attend our annual virtual conference, and you'll have access to the Observer's Notebook podcast. Membership begins at only $22 a year. The way to find us, just go to your Google and type in ALPO Astronomy, and you'll see this prompt come up. There's our association with our website, alpo-astronomy.org, and you'll come to our homepage. If you look at the top of the homepage, it says Join ALPO. Click on that, and you'll come to the sign-up screen. It gives you the information on the organization, and there's two ways to join. You can join by mail, where you will download a membership form, or you can pay online using PayPal. This is the PayPal processing page. You just fill out a few information lines, and then you're given the chance to click PayPal and join the association. Welcome to the ALPO.